Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is the Daily Medicine transmission for April 2nd, 2021. I keep wanting to say and write March, and that's because that's how fast it went by. So welcome, everyone. It is Friday. It is Good Friday. It is the Friday before Easter. So I hope everyone is doing well, taking care of themselves, maybe getting some time off to really enjoy the spring and reflect on what's going on in life. I want to take a moment to thank my subscribers, either on BitChute or YouTube. Thank you so much. The channels are both growing at a steady and incremental rate, and that's, the best I could ask for in terms of a completely organic process. If you're new to the channel or new to any of this content, welcome, and I really appreciate that you're here checking this out. And if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, you do your part to help get this content out to a wider audience and to other people that might find it helpful. So let's get right into it today. So the title of this transmission is Awakening Within the Chaos, and there are very specific things that are happening astrologically today that really bring this to the forefront. And in terms of the intuitive message, it's also came out very clearly before I even actually realized how pertinent and relevant the concept of chaos and discord actually is for today. So let's take a trip back to Greek and Roman cosmology and mythology, and let's look at the archetype of Eris, the goddess of Eris. She is the goddess of chaos and discord. And if you are familiar with the story of the golden apple, then the image for this transmission makes a lot of sense to you, because basically what happens is that the gods and the goddesses all have a party, and they don't invite their sister Eris because she's weird and she's always making things uncomfortable and always causing trouble because she's the goddess of discord, right? Chaos. And just to keep in mind that chaos is the balance point or the polarity point to balance and harmony, right? Or homeostasis, right? Nothing exists in a stagnant way, and chaos is an entropy, right? Is the universe's way, the natural law's way of breaking up stagnation, moving things around, and continuing a process that is dynamic and that moves in a wave function through our universe. So either light or sound or something even more quantum than that. So they don't invite Eris, and so she decides she's going to stir shit up because it really bothered her that they're not accepting chaos into this, and she's like, you can't keep me out. So what does she do? She writes on the golden apple, Callisti, to the fairest, and then rolls it into the party. And of course, it really brings out and shines a light on the actual traits of all of these gods and goddesses, all of these deities, all of these archetypes of the human experience. And so they start all fighting, all the women basically, and I'm sure there are others too, but they all start fighting over it. I'm the fairest. No, that was meant for me. I'm the fairest. And as they are all arguing, right, about who is the fairest, right, and we can look at that from a couple different perspectives in terms of what that word actually means and what it was meant to mean in that situation. Who's the most beautiful, who's the most easy on the eyes, who has the most balance within them, however you want to look at the word fair. But they were all arguing over it, and what did it do? It certainly brought out all of this, almost animosity, right? And some resentment, because they all thought that they were the one, and then they all started arguing with each other. And of course, Eris sits back and is just like, you can't keep me out. You can't. This is the reality of the universe we live in, is that the seeds of chaos are where, the change happens, right? If there was only stagnation and only homeostasis all the time in a balanced form, this would be a very boring place to be. And that is not the nature of this universe. Maybe other, if we're going to function or focus on like a multiverse type of theory, maybe there are other places that function this way, but not this universe. This is always a dynamic process, an oscillation, and chaos and balance are two of those polarity points that we are working with. And so Goddess Eris is now the representation, or certainly the inspiration, for a very large dwarf planet called Eris, that is even further out than Neptune Neptune and Pluto, right? It is the largest dwarf planet in our solar system, and it's one of the it's a very massive object. It has a 560 year orbit around the sun, so it's been sitting pretty steady at this 24 degrees of Aries mark for a long time. So, and there's been other astrologers that have brought it up and looking at much larger cycles of Eris. It wasn't that long ago. Actually, last year, January 2020, when Saturn and Pluto came together in Capricorn, it was in a square to Eris as well. So almost kind of taunting Eris, in terms of, well, we're not, we don't need the chaos. We're in Capricorn, right? It's very steady and it's very serious and it's very goal oriented. And Eris is like, I'm going to roll this apple of discord into the party, and you'll see how shit gets stirred up real quick, right? So how's this relevant? So Eris today is actually in a direct conjunction with Black Moon Lilith. We've talked about Lilith many times. Lilith is a really big part of my work in terms of archetypes, because it represents not only the dark feminine and the direct connection to the power of the feminine, it also represents that part of ourselves that if it goes unchecked, right, if we do not acknowledge the trauma that we're acting out of, if we are not acknowledging that we're trying to find empowerment outside of us in a situation, then we can participate in activities that are really not of our highest good, because we're acting out of a place of self-preservation, acting out of a place of instinct and darkness, rather than being real with ourselves. It's not that this dynamic and this archetypal representation in itself is a negative aspect, although that there are traditions that want to make that into a completely negative aspect. It is negative when we are not awake to it and aware, and our higher self is not mitigating that to a certain extent, working with that energy, integrating it into the whole picture. And this is where shadow work and Jungian psychology really comes into play. So these two energies are coming into a conjunction today in 24 degrees Aries, which is, Sabian symbol wise, is a wind blowing through a window, blowing these curtains, and the curtains take a shape of a cornucopia. And if you know what a cornucopia is, it's kind of this vessel that holds all of the fruits of the harvest, right? It's represents abundance. So as Eris comes through and sows the seeds of chaos, well, actually, if Black Moon Lilith comes through, because Eris is such a slow-moving dwarf planet that it's been sitting at this degree for a long time. And so the chaos that we are experiencing, the chaos that was in a square to that Saturn-Pluto conjunction that happened last January in 2020, right, that kicked off everything that we are experiencing now and brought it into real time, that aspect now is coming into a direct conjunction, activating, mutually activating with Black Moon Lilith. So if we are not able to gracefully acknowledge this chaos right now in that part of ourselves that demands self-preservation and will act accordingly in order to survive, we are in for an interesting time, to say the least. So this is for all of us to address personally and spiritually, but it will come up. It will come up in different ways today, I assure you, whatever it is. And it is going to actually be this molding influence. As much as it's going to be chaotic, it'll be a way to it's an influx of spiritual energies, an influx of potency that is actually giving us a sense of abundance in our ability to manifest and create and to actualize ourselves. But we have to be careful. I wouldn't even say careful or cautious, just mindful, because chaos, as in that story, if we are not aware and if we are letting that part of ourselves take over, then when that apple rolls in, we really do just kind of descend into that very survival oriented, self-preservation of our ego oriented behavior. And we're all arguing with each other who's right, who's the fairest, right? Who is the one that has who's the most beautiful, who has all the right information, who is the most wise, whatever it is. And it was so intentional in order to bring that out of the system. And we are going, and everybody's system. And that is going to be a personal journey for everybody today and through the weekend. Now, with the moon and Sag still, we'll look at the chart just to see the specifics. We could easily double down on our nonsense in self-righteousness if we are not, working with the astrological archetypes actively and consciously, and having some humility, right? And realizing that we are malleable. Sagittarius is a mutable energy, right? We can change, right? We can change. It's about realization in Sagittarius. It's about understanding in Sagittarius. We are taking polar aspects, bringing them together in order to create something new, something better. That does, again, where that south node is, it requires purification. There's a retribution that must happen before we can create something into a new cycle. Before we can bring those aspects together in a sacred alchemy, we have to make sure that the constituents are purified. And that means dealing with what came before, even if some aspects of it have left the building, So we could easily double down, like I said, into that self-righteousness, and people will do this, right? They are unconscious. They are very dependent on the outside influences. They're very dependent on their perspective that is always changing, right? Gemini is mutable air. You are able to move through the dialectic, and the Orion starseed stuff is coming up so strong. I've been doing these demo readings as an offering from the Redream the World astrology retreat that I was part of. So through those readings now, as I'm diligently going through them, and if you're here as a result of that and you have requested that offering, you haven't gotten it yet, just, be patient. I'm working very diligently to put out these readings. But the Orion aspect's coming through strong with so many people. So if you know you're an Orion starseed, if you suspect you are, if you're curious about that, that's something we can do together and see how that impacts the unfolding of your soul's blueprint. But this aspect is really going to come in as a necessity, because the thing about the Orion starseeds is that they do not, and you're going to see this come up in the intuitive reading. It's about logic, and it's not to say that emotions don't factor in at all. It's just that in Gemini, you don't get engaged with the emotional component. You are moving through the spectrum of ideas and knowledge and learning without attaching yourself and your identity to it. And this is what the Orion starseeds have mastered and can be guides for and master within themselves. So this is about mastering our willpower and that solar plexus. Now, Mars is in Gemini, as we will see and we know. And so this is going to support this process, because we do, to a certain extent, need to insulate ourselves so that we can go through this chaotic moment, whatever it is for us, in a way that is that we can really take care of ourselves, consolidate our power, and not get caught up in the chaos part of it and everybody scrambling to be like, that was for me, right? Because you see a lot of that now, because the reality is nobody really knows. And this process is a spiritual process for each and every individual. And Saturn has made that, painfully clear. And if you are not following the lesson of Saturn these days, then this is going to be difficult, I would say. So Eris and Black Moon Lilith coming together today to activate that chaos, the chaos within us, the chaos that stirs all of that self-preservation and survival and feeling disempowered. And we still do, at the root of us, feel disempowered, which is, again, influencing the way that we act and act out. Now, Black Moon Lilith is also, and Eris is also, they are in a sextile, right? A 60-degree angle, a sextile to Jupiter in Aquarius. Jupiter, the expansive, benefic, right? This is our advocate. This is our representative. Jupiter is a lawyer in a lot of ways. It is, represents the understanding of our collective values and defends them and advocates for them. In Aquarius, specifically, this is the degree that the last new moon was in Aquarius, right? Overcoming our passions in order to teach from a place of deep wisdom. What is a sextile? It's an investment opportunity. It is harmonious, but we have to invest in it somehow. If we can invest, Jupiter's expanding on this right now, is giving us a real investment in itself, right? Expanding on it, give us a good fortune, giving us being a benefactor in a lot of ways in this capacity to overcome our passions and teach from a place of very deep wisdom based on that for those who have not. And I'm telling you, that is definitely coming to the surface. There's just too much chaotic energy in the astrology and in the intuitive reading that is going to bring this all out. And so we can really use the advocate of Jupiter, the representation, the benefactor that Jupiter really is, and the good fortune that Jupiter provides to actually learn something from this chaotic moment, to have it be actually an abundance. And so sometimes that's really painful to learn certain lessons through the chaos, but we can awaken through it if we are willing to work with this energy and humble ourselves a little bit and realize that everything we need is already here within us, and that we may feel all kinds of feels. And they may not be good feeling feels, it could be heartbreak, it could be grief, it could be frustration, but allow that to be an infusion and a molding in some ways into an abundance of potential, right? To grow. That's really what we're looking at. The other thing that let's look at the chart real quick, just so you have some, nope, no, don't do that. Here we go. Is that Mercury is finishing up its transit in Pisces. It's going to be entering Aries by the very end of tomorrow, okay? This is important because what we are conceiving of, what is, that the burgeoning of consciousness that Gemini and Mercury represents, it is now finishing up a big cycle, and it is about to come into a birth, right? Into the emergence of self. And really activate in some way. So it's important that we are allowing the consolidation of our thoughts and then the differentiation into our each individual subjective mental experience to come forward, because it will. We have really no choice in that matter. So here's the chart for today. And as you see, the moon is in Sagittarius. It is going to be in a direct opposition to Mars right now. So this is... Again, we want in some ways to protect ourselves and to use our ideas and our understanding and the values that come out of that to kind of protect us from the direct connection to source. And I think the opposition here with Mars wanting to find some insulation in all of that, and that's important to consider. Mars doesn't really want to find insulation necessarily. Mars is active and wants to, push out and push up and be enterprising. And, there's a lot of ego behind it because it's about a subjective experience and subjective consciousness. But when we're talking about the realm of ideas that Gemini is, it's really about, we do need to maintain the mind needs to retain a certain level of independence, which Mars is really great at from the physical environment in order to concentrate on its quote unquote special problems, whatever, and that's means more about what Mars is focusing on individually and from an actualization standpoint, because Mars is our inner warrior in a lot of ways. And so we're feeling like this really strong urge to find companions who speak our language. And when we enter a new realm of activity, usually we will find ourselves alienated from our environment, especially if you start to come into a new set of ideas that are counter to what you have been engaged with for a long time. And this is part of the growth process. And this chaos is going to come as a result of this. And so Mars is looking for other companions, other people that speak the language, and it's about insulation. And so we can, there's a lot of strength with the moon in Sagittarius, okay, because it is an inner strength. It's an inner realization and an inner understanding. But we can't be necessarily completely protected from the full illumination that, a full spiritual illumination, especially in a moment that is going to be like a tower moment within us. So Mars, is pulling us into this place of insulating our minds, insulating ourselves within those that speak the same type of language, and realize that we could feel alienated from where we've been, and Mars wants to protect us. So, and protect our minds and keep us within this little zone of insulation. So we can use that today. The other thing that's really sticking out is that, as I said, Mercury is coming into its last couple degrees of Pisces. And before it does that, it was in a sextile with Pluto, right? Is another investment opportunity. And this is really, the mind and our manifestation potential on an individual basis is coming into, like I said, is been consolidated and diffused, and now it is more diffused than consolidated. Consolidated is much more of a Cancer thing. Is really diffused into all of the potential outcomes, all of the potential, concepts, into the Akash, into the past, right? This is Mercury has been just traversing every corner of the ocean, really, because Mercury can move very swiftly. And now that it's past Neptune and gotten the mandate, right? Now we are allowing that to start to differentiate into our individual roles. So the sextile to Pluto today is an investment in that illumination, the moon illuminating the clear autumn sky, right? The illumination of, let's see here, the illumination of the fulfillment, right? The light of fulfillment that's blessing what we have done so far. And Pluto, and what we've done so far is more about where Pluto and Capricorn is, especially, is like tearing it all down, and we've gotten the mandate from the spiritual mandate, the mandate from the divine mandate from source. And now we are allowing it to come together, and it's going to differentiate and be born again into Aries, right? Into the seed point of a subjective individual experience that will grow over time. So all of this work that we've done with Mercury in Pisces that has been very vivid and imaginative, but really hard to wrap our minds around because it's just this diffused state, is something we can apply to Pluto and really see that the work well done is communing and aligning with the destructive elements of Pluto, right? There's something to be gained here in terms of where we're going with the new seed point of our mental sphere, okay? There is that coming by the end of tomorrow. Like I said, Mercury moving into Aries. So the moon is going to square Neptune as well, and will, like I said, is going to sextile Jupiter at the same time that it meets Juno, which is at the degree, as I've talked about many times, is still sitting at the degree that the total solar eclipse in December was. And so we are coming back to that moment again and emotionally connecting to that moment of good fortune and, getting to where we are meant to be, and the reward that meets our efforts at integrating into the environment, for those who remain true to themselves. I mean, that's been that eclipse has been playing itself out this whole time. And so we didn't get the full brunt of it because the moon was eclipsing the sun, but it still is reverberating out throughout time. So we are connecting with that. We're connecting to our commitment to that. And again, investing in Jupiter and this ability to overcome what stirs our passion and stirs that, ability to, act out of self-preservation and disempowerment. If we can, find that investment, then this is going to allow us to keep our commitment to this process that has been happening since the solar eclipse, the total solar eclipse, which was in December. So I would invite you to go back and listen to that at some point. Maybe I'll link it in the comments of these videos so that you can see where all of this is going and how it's connected to certain people during this time. So that's the astrology for today, and wait till you see the intuitive message, because it really does line up a lot with this whole process. So here's the reading that we're going to do today. I'm going to check in with the chat real quick in the stream and make sure it's all good. It looks good. Hi, Seth. You're not at work today, so you're probably going to watch the whole thing. So here's our reading today. We have the Lovers, right? Number 6 is lots of investment opportunities today. The 6, this is the ultimate investment, the Lovers, the ultimate devotion. It's the Gemini card too. So, and we have the Tower at the center of everything here, the Tower reverse. So it could be on one hand blind destruction that we don't learn anything from, but really the eye is at the bottom here. So it does seem like that the chaos is within us. Setting our course, we have a knowledge and awareness and a conscious attention on the fact that we're going somewhere else, broadening our horizons. But look, the waterfall reversed, still here at the root of things. There is still a root. All of our energy, all of our focus and attention is still ultimately rooted collectively in feeling disempowered. So we're going to talk about that too. And the outcome, the effect of the cause and effect. And the and is this energetic polarity. The cause is the Lovers or whatever's right here. This whole process is the and, the present timeless moment, the energetic polarity, or the energetic polarity for sure, and then at the heart of it, right, the center of it, which is this Tower moment. The effect, well, this is certainly the Knight of Swords is the Lord of wind and breezes, but even more than that, because it's the night, there is fire behind this. And so let's get into it one piece at a time so we can see here. Number 1, the Lovers, right? The Gemini card. So this is the Sun and Moon together, Venus and Mars together. The polarities existing as distinct poles, right? That are, there's a devotion here. This is what this represents, because it is the Lovers, right? You see these two opposing figures coming together that's being blessed by two opposing children. You have this bird here, then you have the lion on the other end, you have the snake wrapped around the egg at the center of all of this, you have the cherub, and then you see that it is being ordained by this faceless, massive figure over top. So this is an ordained and very devoted energy, right? This is what the Lovers mean. So Gemini is mutable air. You're able to move back and forth, but there is a distinct twin on one side and on the other. You have not merged. That is the Sagittarian energy. That is the art of the alchemy. This is about acknowledging and devoting to the acceptance of that which is opposite, either ideas, people, whatever, and devoting ourselves to it, whatever it is. It's the power of life, right? This in Gemini in the third house, this is when the sprout comes up from the soil and is the expansion of our initial consciousness as an individual soul in the life. As you go through the zodiac, that third house is where we learn. This is where we make sense of the immediate environment. And Gemini is about the mutability of ideas because we have access to everything, all ideas. And so we can access all ideas, all knowledge. And we come to understand that for every idea, there is its counterpart. And when we devote ourselves to that, knowing that the polarity is what sparks the creation of something new, that third point, that apex, we talked about that yesterday. This is the Lovers. And so something that stuck out to me that had never really stuck out before as I was taking my notes was the phrase that it is the power of life, but it's also destructive when we disregard the fire of instinct, right? If we do not acknowledge the fire of instinct, that burns down rationalism. If we completely disregard that, this becomes destructive. So this is where the tower is going to come in, is the disregarding of that fire of instinct, right? That is when the apple gets rolled in. Nobody assumes that they're all going to instinctually start fighting over it because really they're, the concept of self that they've identified with is being threatened. And so they have, then that shadow comes out and they all start fighting and, just fighting with each other. No, I'm the fairest. No, I'm the fairest. And everybody's fighting and the party is ruined. So this also represents a decision and a full acceptance of love. And it's about making an honest and clear decision and devoting ourselves to it. So the energy coming into the moment is this very balanced and like I said, the ultimate investment, number 6. And it's making a decision. And it doesn't have to be about a person. It could be about a concept. It could be about a project. The idea is that coming into the moment is this Gemini, this devotion to the process of that which, accepting that which is our opposite. So even our shadow, right? If this is an internalized experience, you accept your shadow. You love your shadow because you know that integrating it down the line is what's going to create something new. So this is the energy that is the quote unquote cause coming into the moment. Well, here we go. Here is the moment. Is our Tower card, Mars, and it's reversed, right? So, nobody really likes the Tower card unless you're one of those people that thrives off of chaos and knows that it is going to be incredible learning potential. But most people, the Tower of Babylon was a futile attempt to reach heaven without doing the spiritual work. And so all of your illusions get broken down and the dragon fire comes in and just destroys. Remember what I just talked about? It's also destructive when we disregard the fire of instinct. Boy, Mars is definitely the fire of instinct to some degree, right? Because it's acting out of that ego consciousness and subjective experience. So this is burning down our rationalism pretty good. And when it's reversed like this, now sometimes, like I said, blind destruction, there's no point behind it when it's like this. There is no breakout realization when it's reversed. But I do feel like that based on everything else here, we are looking at a destruction within. We are looking at a tower moment within our own identity. And as we see here with the eye is down at the bottom now. So it's like an inner look into our shadow. Everything that we have with Lilith and Eris coming together today, we really having our self-conception brought to the table and just destroyed. And if we can see the shadow part of ourselves and see what is happening in this destructive process, wow, there's so much to learn. And we can really... Again, this is where the Orion starseeds really can come out because they mastering the willpower. They're not getting pulled into the personal aspect of this dynamic of Gemini, that fierce. There's a lot of fierceness and insatiable thirst for knowledge when the Orion starseeds. They love being in the duality because it sharpens their skills. It makes them better. They don't take it personally. It's just logical. And we do need some of this because we are easily getting, wrapped up in being triggered for these psychological operations that are meant to do that. They're meant to play off of our shadow, right? Again, you gotta watch Shadowgate and Shadowgate 2.0. I mean, it was pretty clear that using the concept of the Jungian shadow was absolutely integrated into the military-industrial complex to influence all kinds of things politically around the world and in our own country. So, but what I'm saying here is esoterically and from an energetic perspective, today at the center of this is a breakdown of within, right? A breakout realization and a destruction of old values within us, which is going to be difficult with a moon in Sagittarius because that is about the collective values that we already are holding. So, now, when we get to where our conscious awareness and attention is, I think we do see, and we are setting a course in our minds, right? You got the rainbow, right? That is the covenant between our divine and material aspect. Here's that duality again. We know there's 3 people on this ship, so there's that apex, looking out over the expanse of the ocean, setting the course. So they're reading the map. The captain is looking out at where we're going, and there is opportunities are more than what we see right in front of us. And we have to be willing to look out and broaden our horizons. And I think that there is an awareness to this and a drive to do this as well. Where we are getting stuck, I think, is, again, the 6 of Forces reversed, same position as yesterday, feeling disempowered, emotionally disempowered, intuitively disempowered. The deep emotional energy that really drives a lot of our manifestation and our, it starts in the subconscious, is we are not feeling connected to it at all, and if we are, there are aspects around us that continue to, and again, Lilith and Eris, you can take this moment as the influx of abundance. If we see it that way, it's going to be difficult because, again, we feel at the root of things still very disempowered in terms of our emotional energy, our psychic or intuitive energy, because that's really where manifestation starts, is in the subconscious and through our deep feelings. And so if we're feeling disempowered, and especially if we're feeling disempowered by the injection of a chaotic element, even within us, it's going to be difficult. However, what it does do is stimulate us into taking back some of that power. Okay, that is the light side of this. We don't have to just stay steeped in this disempowerment. We can see, oh, I'm feeling disempowered, and that is influencing all of my decisions and where I'm focusing my energy and how I'm acting. And being aware of that that in itself will empower us. That just being aware of it will be empowering, because where this is headed here. So the Knight of Swords, right? You can see here, he's got the swords out. He's low on the horse. There's movement here. There's birds as well, like there's support, and there's movement through the air. So the Knight of Swords is the storm of the mind, flaming high, right? You can see how the Orion starseed aspect, especially with Mars, really connected to the Orion spaces now. So excellent warrior in logical excursions, right? The court cards represent us as actual people or people in our lives. Intelligent judgment, mental realizations. Wow. If we are making a commitment to this process to even begin with, in conjunction with this vertical axis of energy where we find ourselves each individually energetically aligned, we will come out of this with intelligent judgment and mental realizations and flaming high, right? Now, the potential here always is to get lost in these theoretical variations, it tends to put logic ahead of all the other values. That's a very Orion thing. This is about mastering our willpower and not getting pulled into the emotional aspect. And in case of the chaos at the heart of this today, I would say that normally I'd say look out for that, but this seems to be really important, that we are able to use our mental realizations and our intelligent judgment and the storm of our mind and being kind of a skillful mental trickster in some ways, right? We're not letting anybody influence our conception of ourself, because we've committed to this process now, even though we know that there is chaos at the heart of things, even when it's just within us. This is going to stimulate this energy, and so that we can each be the Knight of Swords, and the storm of the mind can flame high, because this is how we push. This is how we. I don't want to say push back. That's not right. This is how we empower ourselves, okay? Now, there's some guidance here if we're struggling, especially with this setting our course, because it's so new, right? But it's very balanced. Number one, Archangel Michael. This is our divine energy, right? Divine courage coming in. We have support, right? We have support. We have somebody that's got our back energetically and archetypally. This is something we can channel into ourselves, this flaming heart and this courage and the flaming sword that Michael represents. So this is right here with us as we set our course. And the boar, I don't know if you've ever encountered wild boar before, but they are not to be trifled with. So this says, face your problems head on with confidence and courage, and you will emerge victorious. So beyond that, power originates from source and moves through us, right? We don't generate this power, just like Michael represents. It is from source and then channels through us. And the boar represents courage and self-reliance and prosperity. And there's a fierceness here too. Again, if you've ever come across a wild boar, you definitely don't want to meet them in the wild, because they are pretty tenacious. Okay. And so this is saying, we know that we're trying to set a course to a new place, even in our minds, right? Where we are going, what ideas are out there that we haven't considered yet, what type of mental realm we want to be in. So there's a lot of courage here and tenacity, like I said, determination and fierceness that the boar represents to bring us to this place. We can get there. We absolutely can. And we have a lot of support. And this boar today, you literally bore through, they're like, they're so ornery and so, and so determined, right? We can really push through blockages and get where we're going with some courage, right? It's one thing to set the course. It's another to actually take the initiative to get there, but we have it. Now, when it comes to our feelings of, emotional disempowerment, the waterfall being reversed, like going against gravity, which is damn near impossible. We just feel completely taken out, basically. The zebra, let go of your fear and know that you're safe and protected at all times. I think this is a big thing here, because our disempowerment and not being able to connect to that well of energy that is limitless within us, we're afraid. We want to hold on. And part of this too, the 5 of Keys, wishes fulfilled, when it's reversed, we have to work to make some change, right? In order to have these wishes fulfilled, whatever they are. You have to work to change your circumstances and your responses to them. And if we can at least acknowledge that we don't need to fear, we have everything that we need, and not go on the defensive when we are challenged or we start experiencing this chaos, if we can and keep working on it, right? Just because you have to take a detour, maybe you have to be real with yourself. That doesn't mean you have to just fold up and stop doing what you're doing. You just have to be real with yourself and take the steps that you need to in order to get these wishes fulfilled, whatever they are. There's a cornucopia probably on this table, actually, if we're looking really close. And so again, Eris and Lilith, first chaotic, And as destructive as it may seem, this tower at the center, there is an abundance that is being offered here if we can see it that way and we can use it in that way. We don't have to be afraid that, we have everything we need. We have everything that we can access everything we need from within us and channel divine source, channel God's energy through us in order to feel empowered and not feel disempowered by the chaos that is happening either outside or most likely within us because we're being challenged. And it's because we made a commitment to go through this process. We made a commitment to go through this process. The lovers, we understand that the duality, that we have to accept the duality, devote ourselves to the work, and this will stimulate, this, either way you look at it, this chaos is going to be stimulated from the astrological perspective. And if we are committed to this work, it will be something that we actually learn from and are able to move through and, modulate up to the next level, right? But we can't do that if we're afraid of losing, if we're afraid that we don't have enough, if we're feeling emotionally disempowered. But even that emotional disempowerment is going to help us to a certain extent actually take the steps that we need to in order to align with something way better than the ego identity that we've been working with. Sometimes you just need to be humbled, or sometimes you just need your tower, whatever that is, to get knocked down to wake you up. And that is also going to lead to this Knight of Swords, where we can really be, really master that realm of ideas in intellect and learning and knowledge and communication, right? We can really master that. So, you guys, that's the transmission for today. Thank you so much for being here. It's Good Friday. So I will be putting out the weekly astrology in a little bit so that we have some ideas of what to expect for the coming week. And have a wonderful weekend. If you celebrate Easter, I hope that you are enjoying that too, whatever that means to you. If that's family time, if that's, going into a very deep state of contemplation and spiritual practice. If it's really just about getting candy and Easter egg hunts, whatever it is that you do, enjoy it, do it well, engage with life, and, devote yourself to the process. And I think that that's going to get us through any chaos and any apple that rolls into, any seeds of discord that roll into our environment. We will have all the tools that we need to learn from that situation. So if you're interested in a reading or energy work of any kind, you can go to catalystenergies.net. That is in the description box below, and you can book a service through there. We are on Facebook and Telegram. You can link to those from the description box as well. And as always, thank you to my subscribers. If you're new, welcome. Become a subscriber. Be part of this community, and I love you guys. I will see you on Monday for the transmission, and I will be seeing you. You'll be seeing me actually soon with the weekly astrology report. Take care, everyone. See you later.